we are here as an Inspectorate of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, and proudly so, to be able to inform our minister as well as the general public and our stakeholders who are with us here today on what the media campaign is all about and how the truancy officers are going to be more visible in the community, and how we are going to be working together with you with certain changes that have been made on implementing and a more thorough implementation of the law on compulsory education so that there can be more adherence to that. Before I start, when we're constantly talking about the law on compulsory education, we are talking about individuals who have been hired by our Honorable Minister to execute these tasks. They have been mandated by the Minister to monitor the implementation of the law on compulsory education. And these individuals are, and I will start on my left with the first gentleman and the only gentleman that you will see in the midst of the truancy officers team. That's Mr. Richnel Brugh, as a truancy officer / inspector, as we call them. We have Ms. Orva Medina, and we have Ms. Natalie Peters. So these are the three individuals who you will be in close contact with during the course of this academic year as well as the years to follow. This media campaign has been long in the making, in that we started with a soft launch several years ago, and due to female power, as we call it, or a shortage thereof, we had to make some adjustments in that media campaign. Now we fast forward to 2015, and we are here today with a full-fledged communications plan that encompasses different aspects of the implementation of this media campaign. We are not only looking at the individuals who you see here who are on board, but we are looking at the material being sent out to the schools. We are also looking at the legislative part that needs to be in place so that there can be consequences attached to non-adherence of this law. So this is a more complete picture that we can then present to our stakeholders. The school managers are all aware that this launch actually started in August of this academic year, when the truancy officers were present at the various parents' information sessions, informing the parents on this law, and always it is not only the informing them of, but drawing their attention to the importance of them paying attention to it and living it. Because the law on compulsory education is only printed on paper, but the parents don't see it fit to send their youngsters off to school, then there is a lot that we need to do on the consequence side. And that may be so, but what we need to focus on is that the youngsters are getting the education and in a cycle that is unbroken, meaning a continuation of education for the 10 months that the school year lasts. Now, the media campaign, as I stated, encompasses several aspects. We are going to be more visible. You are going to be seeing the inspectors and other individuals from the truancy team on places where the general public frequents. So we are going to be present at supermarkets, and we are going to be handing out information in the form of pamphlets. We are very cognizant of the fact that we have a population that not only speaks English or Dutch, but also speaks Spanish and Creole. So for that reason, we have also then specifically produced pamphlets in those languages so that they too can understand the basic concept of what the law entails. We have, through the Honorable Minister, also been able to obtain a vehicle that will be unveiled pretty soon in the parking lot of the Government Administration Building, which will be very visible to the community, because as you can see, the T-shirt that I am wearing and that all the truancy officers are wearing and other members of the inspectorate is an eye. And the eye is an eye on education. So this vehicle will be all over the island during school hours to make sure that the community is aware of this law on education. And if need be, those youngsters who deem to find themselves out of school during school hours dressed in uniforms may need a ride to the school. And that will be with a soft arm, of course, and they will be escorted to their school. So the Eye on Education is a logo that has recently been approved by the minister, and this is what you will see on all documentation as well. So the visibility aspect, because it has to become just a common practice for people to recognize it and say, of course, where are your kids today? Are your kids in school today? Main question. So, in all of this, there are certain things that we would like to present to the minister today, as well as to the general public, on this media campaign. First off, Honorable Minister, if you would please come to the lectern. We would like to present you with your very own Eye on Education t-shirt. There you go.
Thank you.
As well as the complete media campaign that we are so very thankful for our colleagues at DCOM for having taken the time to sit with us, to gather our thoughts, and to put them in a functional document. This encompasses everything that will be done in this entire academic year. And a poster that will be placed at various institutions, whether those be private or government offices in St. Martin. And that is this one. Compulsory education for every child.
Look at it.
Oh, sorry. And the pamphlets in 3 languages, what you need to know about compulsory education, a version in Spanish that Mr. Reginald Bruch can perhaps read to you. Yes, literally in Spanish. Read it.
No?
Oh, okay. I would not want to make sounds that are
no.
not Spanish.
No.
And we also have it written in Creole.
First of all, let me thank the Inspectorate for the increase in what is so necessary needed for our community of St. Martin. I'm happy to know that the enforcement of our truancy officers will be more visible. For one aspect, I believe that will assist, I don't want to say force, it will assist parents in adhering to our compulsory education law. Secondly, I'm also extremely happy that the awareness campaign is taking places in strategic points at supermarkets, because many times adherence is not only because of unwillingness, adherence is sometimes because of not knowing. I've been speaking to the Minister of Justice in terms of also collaborating with the truancy officers and inspectorate about the adherence also at the gates of our ports, because that too we need to work on enforcing that parents adhere to the law of compulsory education and follow the procedure that is in place at our inspectorate. Now, for the Eye on Education, I love the logo because it tells our community we are now going to be intensifying our monitoring of our young individuals and of the ensuring that the compulsory education law is extremely adhered to, not only in non-seasons but also around those times that parents like to travel. On the poster, I want to share this with you. Parents, responsibility is yours to enroll your child in school. We know that. Parents must abide by the government-sanctioned holiday schedule. We also know that. Be informed. Parents must also always be informed of what happens in school. Parents must communicate with your child. Parents, commit yourself to improving your child's chances of success on their educational journey. All of these sentences is what truancy would like you to do, and of course the Ministry of Education. It is about having a complete cycle, and Mrs. Samane said it, of uninterrupted, of course there's always illnesses, but uninterrupted instruction for your child. That 1 week of vacation, that 1 week of staying home, it can affect them severely, and we must adhere to that. The vehicle, which I so love, because I always wonder, when we see young individuals on the road, what are we going to do about it? Well, We're going to pick them up, and I'm happy that our head said, in a soft way, we're going to even promote an awareness of how this will be done from the truancy officers, because parents must know when this procedure takes place, it's not in any way to greatly psychologically damage your child or make them feel uncomfortable. However, your child is at that time and moment in the wrong place. They're not in school. So we will pick them up in a very kind, comforting way, let them feel reassured that this individual cares for them, and we will take them to school. I fully endorse this intensified truancy campaign that is going to take place, and I ask of all of the school managers and the school boards to cooperate fully with our inspector department. Parents, this campaign is not in no way for any other cause, but for the well-being, safety, and education of your child.
So 3 questions. The first question is the length of the media campaign. The media campaign, we have focused now on academic year 2015-2016, so we are going to be visible in many different ways during the entire academic year. It may not always be visible in the sense that it will be on the streets where we will be, for example, in front of supermarkets or so. We have lots of sessions that have been scheduled to take place within schools themselves, and these are sessions on why truancy, why not truancy, and how you should change your behavior, geared specifically towards those youngsters who need to hear it. So those sessions are going to be taking place, I believe, one every month at various schools, where there is, based on the reporting from that school, a high number of youngsters who may be absent regularly. As for the level of truancy, there are different aspects that we have to look at when we're talking about truancy, because we can talk about truancy where we have youngsters who are regularly absent a day or 2 in the week. That is something that needs to be tackled. Schools will be reporting on that if they have then discovered a trend, and they want the truancy officers then to intervene, and sessions will then be organized. If there are youngsters who regularly skip specific classes during the course of a day, we have that as well, who may have an issue with the Friday 8th period or the Monday 1st period. The schools too can report that to the truancy officers, and they too then will intervene. We also have matters that are more severe in the case of, for example, youngsters who do not appear to school for weeks or months on end. Now, those are the cases that require a whole lot of attention, not only from the truancy officers, but also from the other stakeholders who are then involved. Could be the Court of Guardianship, could be the SJIB, it could be the Public Prosecutor's Office, or other stakeholders. All right, so that is more intense, and those take place as well. And as for where the bus came from, it was the signature of the minister who took care of that.
Okay, and I have a follow-up, if I may. How many truancy officers do we have currently? I know initially it was 2. Has that been increased? And you mentioned in your earlier remarks that if parents don't adhere to these new procedures, there will be consequences. What are the consequences?
Okay. Well, the number of truancy officers that we have 4, as that's the maximum number, and you see 3 here before you. Okay. The consequences that we are looking at are consequences that are dictated by the law, and what we are working on now is to have those various types of consequences enforced, but the degree as to what should be the next step for every consequence is what is being worked out now, because certain things need to be mandated by the minister to the truancy officers in order for them to be able to act out certain things. For example, if I give you the first consequence that is usually given is a warning letter. That comes from the inspectors, the truancy officers write that, that goes directly to the parents, and a copy of that goes to the public prosecutor's office as well, depending on the type of truancy matter that we're looking at. If that does not bring any improvement in the school attendance of that youngster or of that parent, then the second step will then be to, for the truancy officers then to draft what we call the process verbal. And the process verbal goes directly from our hands to that of the public prosecutor's hands. the youth public prosecutor in this case, and they take it up from there. And the truancy officers are still very much involved to monitor what then takes place. If and when that were not to provide us with the corrected behavior that we would like to see, then that next step would then be the part of submitting fines. And that is something that we still have to work certain things out and get them on paper so that that last step can then also be executed.
Be in fact. So I guess I have to ask the minister, when can we expect this step, to be finalized?
The last step you're talking about the fines. Well, seeing that the schools are often challenged with the same periods of the year where students are often absent, it has our highest interest in finalizing this consequence, as that we have seen sometimes the warning letters are sometimes taken very lightly. I don't think parents are seeing the importance of such warning letters and the importance of their children being in school. So we are looking at finalizing the fines, as it is also a form of negligence on the parents' behalf. As I said before, the schools have a detailed, sometimes they can see exactly around the time of Carnival. We have high absenteeism then. We also have a high absenteeism around the time of Christmas. We have seen on school level whereby once a report card is issued, that parents believe, okay, school time, the break has closed. And the truancy officers and the school managers always enforce to the parents and state over and over, school does not close until it's officially the holiday of Christmas and also of Carnival. But we are faced with those challenges whereby we are asking the parents to take the responsibility to ensure that their child does not remain, for example, in the Carnival village at late hours, so that they can come to school the following day. We're currently working on, a mandate is currently being worked on for the Office of the Truancy in order to complete the last measure of the fines. Please come.
Yes.
Part will be closer.
Come
Yes.
on, I'm one of our.
Everyone stand on this side.
You did the work on the van. Thank you for that quick work. I was amazed that I saw it, and I love the how you set it up. It's very visible to the community. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Try to make it accessible as well.
Yes, yes,
Not being in the inspectorate, but also accessible.
yes. Very nice. Thank you.